In the last 4 videos about IELTS reading tests, we talked about different question types except for matching features and matching information to paragraphs. In this video, we're going to focus on these 2 question types. Let's begin. This reading passage is the second one in Test 2 from IELTS 17, and we are going to start with the first question type, matching information to paragraphs. So this question type tests a wide range of reading skills, from locating detail to recognizing a summary or definition. It also assesses your ability to scan for specific information. The answers could be anywhere in the text, and this makes it a little bit difficult, and not all paragraphs may be used. So let's begin with the steps. First of all, we need to read the instructions because you may get something called NB, attention. You may be able to use each paragraph more than once. So it's important to know that. The second step, to read the questions and highlight the keywords. Then we skim each paragraph to find the topic. Then read the questions again and scan the keywords, and remember we're looking for paraphrases. And we start with the paragraphs we think might contain the answers. And finally, we need to read that part carefully and then decide. So let's begin with the questions. Here we have NB, nota bene, attention. You may use any letter more than once. So it means, for example, for question 14, you can say A, and also for question 17, you can use the same letter. That's why it's important to read and make sure we can do this or not. So step 2, we read the questions quickly and highlight the keywords. Question 14, a reference, type of tomato, can resist, dangerous infection. 15, explanation, problems can arise, focusing one certain type, and tomato. 16, a number of examples, plants, not cultivated, at present, could be useful, and food sources. 17, a comparison, early domestication, tomato, recent research. 18, a person reaction, flavor, tomato, genetically edited. Now it's time to skim each paragraph to find the topic. Remember, we're not reading every single word, we just have a quick look to find the topic. So in paragraph A, humans learn how to domesticate wild tomato, cultivated for food, separate teams, do it again, and so on. It's about one approach they use to do it, to redomesticate tomatoes actually. More information about that. This fast track domestication, more information about that, and that's enough. We don't read everything. So now moving on, paragraph B, wild tomatoes, native to, so it's about the location over many generations, selecting breeding plants, every single plant, mutation, larger population, diversity is lost, so it's a problem here. Desirable mutations, example here, comparing the genomes of mother plants to wild relatives. That's enough. Next paragraph, it's about one team that made 6 changes, so we might find some information about size here, and also the number of tomatoes, historical domestication. We have one quotation here, so one person said something about tomatoes, they're tasty. The team in China, desirable traits. All right, next one, paragraph D. Van Eck, it's about another team in New York and what they did on cherries, ground cherries, already sold. Okay, I don't remember anything about cherries in the question, so I prefer to skip this part. Paragraph E, again, more about this approach, boost the use of many obscure plants, so the benefit of this approach. The three teams already have their eyes on the plans, so they're still working on it. And the last part, didn't want to reveal which species and so on. All right, that's enough. Now, moving on, we worked on step 1, step 2, step 3, and now it's time to read the questions again and scan the paraphrases. And we have some information now about the paragraphs in mind, so we can somehow guess the approximate location of each question. And after we found it, we need to read that part carefully and then decide. So the first question, if you remember, we talked about this before. We said that it's about the reference, tomato, resist, and a dangerous infection. So we had some information about the changes, if you remember, in paragraph C, because this question also is about a tomato that can resist a dangerous infection because of probably one of those changes. So we go directly to paragraph C to check if you were right or not. In the third part of this paragraph, we have, in this way, they managed to create a strain resistant to a common disease called bacterial spot race. So this is the part. In the question, we had resist, to fight against something, and here we have resistant as an adjective, not harmed or affected by something. This kind of paraphrasing using the different part of speech, actually. So moving on, in the second part, problems can arise focusing only on a certain type of tomato plant. If you remember, in paragraph B, we read the word single plant in the second part. So this part contains the answer. Mutation is the way in which genes change and produce permanent differences. Desirable, wanted, or preferred. So here it says, and sometimes the desirable mutations come with less desirable traits. So it means that when they change the genes, there may be unwanted results. And that's exactly the points in the second question. So now moving on, question 16. Examples of plants not cultivated at present but could be useful as food sources. We had this information in paragraph E. The three teams already have their eyes on their plants that could be catapulted into the mainstream. So including foxtail, oatgrass, and cowpeas. So here we have the three examples of those plants that could be catapulted into the mainstream. Now, catapult means to become important very suddenly, and mainstream to be accepted by most people. This one is a little bit tricky because it mostly tests your, let's say, vocabulary. Next one, a comparison between the early domestication and now. We had this in paragraph A, where we read about the information about the past, that humans learned how to domesticate, and the word now that those teams are working on it, and they have done it better in some ways. So this is the comparison between past and present. Domestication, the process of bringing animals or plants under human control in order to provide food, power, or company. So in this case, we're talking about plants. And also cultivate, to grow a particular crop, in this case, tomato, right? And the last one, a personal reaction to the flavor of a tomato that has been genetically edited. We read about this earlier in paragraph C. They're quite tasty, a little bit strong, and very aromatic. So reaction here, it means opinion. So his reaction, his opinion. Tasty has a strong and very pleasant flavor, and aromatic, having a pleasant smell. So the second question type is matching features, and in this case, matching names. This one is also a little bit tricky for many students, but if you follow these steps, that will be quite manageable. Matching features will assess your ability to recognize relationships and connections between facts in the text and your ability to recognize opinions and theories. You will need to scan, and read for details. And it's possible that some options will not be used and that others may be used more than once. The instructions will tell you if you can use the options more than once or not. That's why it's always important to start with reading the instructions. So, step one, read the instructions, then read the names and scan them in the text. So, we don't start with the questions, we start with the names and we scan them in the text. When you found them, you need to read around the names to locate the information. It means if the information about that name goes before it or after it. Then we start reading the questions and highlighting the keywords. And then we start with the names that appeared once only, because those are the easiest. I will show you and I will tell you why. And finally, you need to read that part carefully and decide. So let's begin. Here we have NB again. You may use any letter more than once. So it means, for example, letter A could be used for question 19 and also question 20. It's very important to know. Now, let's start with scanning the names. The names are always in the same order, by the way. So now we scan the names and read around them to know if the information about that name goes before it or after it. So the first name is in paragraph A, Kudla. This could transform what we eat. So the information about him is before that. And after that, we also have some information about him. Then in the last line, we have Gao. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing those names correctly or not. They're proper nouns. Here we have the information about his name also before and after his name. Now in paragraph B, no names. Paragraph C, we have Kudla's name again. In line 1, the information about him is after that. And also Kudla in this line. And the information is exactly in this part. Moving on, paragraph D, Van Eck 2 times. The information is after that. And here also the information is after that. Then in paragraph E, Jonathan Jones. The information about him is before that and also after that. Go is both before and after. And finally, Kudla is after. So we did number 1, 2, 3. Now it's time to read the statements and highlight the keywords. So in number 19, we have domestication, certain plans, allow, adapt, future environmental challenges, idea, growing, eating, unusual plans, not accepted, large scale, 21, not advisable, future direction, certain research, made public, 22, present efforts, domesticate, wild fruit, limited, costs, and the last one, humans, only use of, small proportion, plant, food, and available. So we said we start with the names that appear once only. Here, the name Kudla appeared 4 times, Gao 2 times, Van Eck 2 times, and Jonathan once only. So we start with Jonathan's. Now, here we have his name. This approach could boost the use of many obscure plants, says Jonathan Jones, and it will be hard for new foods to grow so popular with farmers and consumers that they become new staple crops, he thinks. So this is exactly statement in number 20. Unusual plants, in the text we have obscure plants, may not be accepted, hard to grow popular, and on large scale, with farmers and consumers that they become new staple crops. Staple means main. All right, so then we continue with the other names that appear twice. So here we have Go and Van Eck. So let's continue with Go. Domestication of certain plants could allow them to adapt to future environmental challenges. We have his name in paragraph A and E, if you remember. So this information about environmental challenges appears in paragraph E. We could create crops that will thrive even as the planet warms. So domestication of certain plants create crops that allow them to adapt to, will thrive, future environmental challenges, even as the planet warms. That's exactly the same information. So now it's time to continue with Van Eyck. His name appeared twice in paragraph D, right? So this information, present efforts to domesticate one wild fruit are limited by the costs involved. So appears here. She adds that taking the work further would be expensive because of a need to pay for a license for and so on. So present efforts to domesticate one wild fruit. Team has edited the plans to increase fruit size. Limited by costs involved, taking the work further would be expensive. Further humans to continue work. So now we continue with the last name, Kutla, that appeared 4 times. But now that we have finished those names, we only have 21 and 23. Even without reading the text, we know that the answers to 21 and 23 are A. And we can also repeat more than one letter, right? So that's definitely the answer. But to make sure, we need to read that part as well. So we had his name in paragraph A, C, and E. So 21, it is not advisable for the future direction of certain research to be made public. We have this exactly in this part. To be made public, we have didn't want to reveal which. So it's in paragraph E. And the last one, humans only make use of a small proportion of the planet food available on Earth. We have this exactly in paragraph A. Only make use of a small proportion. In the text we have there are many eatable plants, but 90% comes from just 15 crops. So we were right about those numbers as well. The last question type in this test is sentence completion. We had it before in video 1 in this series, but let's review and practice this question type one more time. So sentence completion assesses your ability to locate detail or specific information. The answers are always in the same order, and this makes it easier. And hyphenated words count as single words, like check in, it's only one word. So these steps, we read the instructions first to know the word limit. Then we read the sentences and highlight the keywords, guess the word class, if we need a noun, a verb, and so on. And then we scan the keywords. And when you've found it, you need to read that part carefully and then decide. So here, one word only. Now let's look at the questions. 24, undesirable trait, loss of, caused by, mutation, and tomato gene. So we're looking for loss of something, so it must be a noun. 25, modifying one gene, tomato, 3 times its original something, so it's a noun. Even before reading, we can guess the answer. It's probably size. And the last one, a type of tomato, not badly affected, rich vitamin C, produced by, and China. So affected by something, again, we're looking for a noun. So let's begin. 24. So we have this part in paragraph B, and sometimes the desirable mutations come with less desirable traits. For instance, the tomato strains grown for supermarkets have lost much of their flavor. Flavor is the correct answer. Again, part of speech here is changed, loss of, and here we have lost. So remember, we said the answers are in the same order. Now we need to move on in the next part to find question 25. Now here we have the information in paragraph C. So Kudla's team made 6 changes. In the question we had modify, and in the text we have change. And they tripled the size of fruit. Made 3 times in the question. Here we have tripled 3 times. And the last question. So here we have, they also created another strain that is more salt tolerant and has higher levels of vitamin C. So not badly affected by, here we have tolerant, one adjective, and rich in vitamin C, has higher levels of vitamin C, and was produced by, in the text we have created. So the answer is salt. Alright, hope you found it useful. Make sure you review these steps and practice them in real tests to make sure you know how to use them, and specifically practice them under time pressure to get used to it.